Hello and welcome to another video. I wanted to make this a quick video, but it's sort of moved on a little bit longer than I first anticipated. But I've tried to cut out as much of the technical information as I can in order to try and make it easy to follow. If you are quite conversant with using Lightroom, especially the print module, then you may not get any more information from this video over and above what you already know. It's more or less aimed at those that are fairly new to printing inside of the Adobe Lightroom Classic application. I want to focus on the print resolution checkbox, which is found inside of the print module. And I want to explain when to use it, and more importantly, how to use it in terms of what value do we enter into the print resolution. But before we do that, I just want to rewind a little bit and just go through a very basic example of what actually happens during the print pipeline. So we're going to start by looking at two individual printers. The one on the left is an Epson R3880. It's an old printer now. This is the one that I use, and it really is a workhorse, and it's been going well for a number of years. The one on the right is a Canon Pro 1000. So most Epson photo printers use a print head which has a native print resolution of around 1440 dots per inch or droplets per inch. Canon printers, on the other hand, are slightly different, as they use a native print head resolution of around 1200 dots per inch. And we can see that by looking at the specifications for each printer. Looking at my 3880 on the left, we can see that it has a printing resolution of 2880 by 1440. The Canon on the right has a print resolution of 2400 by 1200. The native resolution of the print head is always the smallest value. The way that they get to the larger value is by changing the spacing of the droplets per inch which are applied to the paper. So when we're talking about the native print resolution, it's always the smallest value. So Epson printers usually work with a base print resolution of 360 dots per inch, and each time we double that value to the next value, the print resolution is increased. So we can go from 360 to 720, 720 to 1440, and then 1440 to 2880. And the same applies to Canon, although with Canon the base print resolution starts at 300 dots per inch. Again, doubling to the next value as the print resolution is increased. 300 to 600, 600 to 1200, and 1200 to 2400. Notice how these values for each brand divide equally into the others. 720 into 1440, 1440 into 2880, 360 into 2880. It divides equally, and that's quite important to remember. If I was just to bring in the calculator and we take 1440, native print resolution of the print head, and divide it by 360, you'll see that it divides equally by a factor of 4. And the same can be applied for the Canon printer. I don't think you need me to demonstrate that. It's pretty straightforward, that. So the thing to take away from this is that the values divide equally into one another. Let's look at the print driver. Think of the printer driver as a kind of middleman that takes the information from the editing software and then passes it directly to the printer in a language which the printer understands. We've got the printing editing software on the left. It passes information to the printer driver, and then the printer driver outputs that information to the printer. In this example, I've set the output resolution to super photo at 1440 dots per inch. So that's the droplets per inch which will be laid down on a sheet of paper. Some of the information that the editing software takes to the printer driver includes the image size to be printed, the image RGB colours contained within that image, and the image print resolution. So these are the three things that we're going to be, well, not all three, but we're going to be looking at the image print resolution. But this is an example of three of the things that may be sent to the print driver. Obviously, the print driver wants to know how big do I need to print this image, or how big do I need to tell the printer to print the image. It needs the image RGB colours because the actual printer doesn't print with RGB colours. It prints in CMYK. That's why we have cyan, magenta, yellow, etc. ink cartridges. So the printer driver has to convert those image RGB colours from that the editing software passes to it and then converts it into CMYK. And it also needs to know what the input print resolution is. Interpolation. In most cases, we don't send the image to the print driver at exactly the same print resolution that we have told the driver to use, which means that some interpolation has to take place. So what we're saying there is that in the printer driver in the middle, we've got super photo 1440 dots per inch selected. That's what's going to be outputted to the print head. But we don't always send an image with 1440 dots per inch set as the print resolution. Using an interpolation value which divides equally into what the printer driver expects to receive is usually a good idea. So we know that we're going to be outputting at 1440. So therefore, as we've seen in the previous slide, sending a print resolution that divides equally into that value, in this case this is for an Epson, makes sense because the printer driver expects to receive that value which it can divide equally, and it knows exactly how to interpolate that value and pass that information to the print head. It's that intelligent, it knows exactly what to do. So just to summarise on that, sending the image with a print resolution of say 360 dots per inch, which divides equally into the output of 1440, this allows the interpolation inside of the print driver to work in a very smooth manner. It knows exactly how to deal with it, and it gives us a very nice print. On the other hand, if we was to send an image with a print resolution that does not divide equally into the print driver's output, so in this example we're actually sending 407 dots per inch to the print driver, which doesn't divide equally. I don't know the exact numbers, but let's just quickly have a look. So we've got 1440, which is what the output value is, and we're going to divide that by 407. And that's going to give us a value of 3.54. So 407 into 1440 actually goes 3.54 times. It's that 0.54 which is something that the printer driver was not expecting. It will do its best to work out what to do with that 0.54, and we will still get a print. However, this could result in what is known as print artifacts. Not so much seen on a small image, but the larger we go in the print size, we may start to see these artifacts appearing in areas of high detail in the shadows especially, but we could see some artifacts appearing. We can let the printer driver perform the interpolation, and in most cases it can do a decent job, especially when it receives that print resolution which divides equally. We can also let the software do the interpolation, and this has been known to use more sophisticated algorithms, which in turn can yield more detail, especially on larger prints. So basically what we're saying here is if we actually interpolate those values inside of the editing software to make sure that they divide equally into the printer driver output, we run a better chance of not having any of those print artifacts that we mentioned in the previous slide. And again, these would be more likely to be seen as the prints become larger. So going back to the Lightroom program, the print resolution option, if we check the print resolution checkbox, we can specify a print resolution which will be sent direct to the printer driver. So here I've put a check in the print resolution checkbox and I've entered the value of 360. Remember, 360 divides nicely into the 1440, goes 4 times. So we know that the printer driver is going to be extremely happy because it's received a value that it knows exactly what to do with. And that would yield a print, in this example, of 11.19 by 15.71 inches. But before we get too excited and just go ahead and enter 360 and press the print button, there is something that we need to be aware of. This will override the print or the native print resolution. And remember, the native print resolution is based on the desired print size. So as we change the image size to be printed, the native print resolution will also be changed. For those that have used Photoshop in the past for printing will already know this. This is why we have to set the interpolation value, and then we have to choose by which algorithm we want to interpolate by cubic, etc., etc. Lightroom is, in my opinion, slightly better than Photoshop for printing, simply because what goes off in the background is quite magical in the sense that it knows exactly how to interpolate to give us the best possible output. It uses quite a sophisticated algorithm. So just remember that by placing this check in this checkbox, we're actually going to override the native resolution of the image. So at this point, we may be asking yourself, well, how do we know what that native resolution is? Well, luckily, inside of Adobe Lightroom, if we uncheck the print resolution, we get an extra set of information adjacent to the print size. It actually shows us what the native print resolution of the image is based on the output print size, in this case 11.19 by 15.71 inches. Notice in this example that the native print resolution at this size is 404. So if we was to still go ahead and place a checkbox or a check in that checkbox and enter a value of 360, what we are actually doing is discarding information because we're actually lowering the print resolution lower than the native size. Remember, the native one is 404. So if we was to send it to the print driver at 360, it's actually a lower value. So we could actually be discarding information, which is not something that we really want to do. So is there something that we can do to work out how we move forward based on this situation? Well, to keep things in line with what the printer driver is expecting, my personal workflow is to uncheck the print resolution checkbox, check what the native value is, and then make a decision from there. So if I was tasked to print this image, and remember it's 11.19 by 15.71 inches, and by unchecking this print resolution box I can see that the native resolution is 404. So I've now got to make a decision. I don't want to send it at 360 because I certainly don't want to discard any information that is contained within the image. I want the best possible print I can get. So my rule of thumb is simple. If the value that we're seeing as the native value is lower than 360, I will enable the checkbox and enter a value of 360. So I will bring it back up to 360. If the value is 360 above, but it sits below 720, so again, I don't want to bring it down to 360, I will take it to the next value, which is 720, and this is for the Epson printer. If it was above 720 but below 1440, again, I don't want to bring it below because I don't want to throw away this information. I would take it to the next available option, which is 1440. If this was Canon, then it would be 300, 600 and 1200. So just to reiterate on that, whatever I'm seeing here as the native resolution, I would never go below that value. I would always go to the next value up. At this point, you might be saying, well, wouldn't it be better to go straight to 1440? It depends on the size of the print. But from what I've seen through my own personal testing is that I like to go to the next available option and then let the printer driver work its magic in working out exactly the correct number of dots per inch and the dithering pattern, etc. By all means, do your own testing on this, but the one rule of thumb is never go below the native resolution of that image. So that just about wraps up for the print resolution. As I said at the beginning, if you're conversant with Lightroom printing, you may not have gained any information from it. But the information to take away from this video is look at the print resolution in the print job, which is found in the print module. If you are going to use this value, make sure that the value that you enter is not below that native resolution of the image that we're sending to the printer. And remember that that native resolution is determined by the actual size of the print that we're going to send to the printer. By changing the print resolution is not, and I will repeat, is not changing the amount of pixels inside of that image. The image pixels will always remain the same irrespective of what you set that print resolution to be. So I hope you've got some knowledge from this If you've picked up one thing, then it's been worthwhile recording the video. If you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate it if you could do that, as it helps YouTube tell other people that you have found both the channel and this video helpful. So until next time, as always, thank you for watching and bye for now.